On behalf of the South Carolina Synod and Bishop Yost, we present this check for $65,089.88 to Lutheran Services of the Carolina for use with the people who need it. Today we're here presenting a check for over $65,000 to Lutheran Services of the Carolinas, the lead organization of Lutheran disaster response in North and South Carolina. It's our pleasure to be in partnership with this group because they're on the front lines of the continuing disaster relief following the floods of 2015. And unlike a lot of other disasters, one of the unique things about flooding is it's a disaster that has long-ranging consequences, because we see lots of things pop up after the floods have receded that we would never expect. We are so grateful for their continued support, their continued response, and their continued faithfulness as they will use this money to support people who fall through the gaps of the governmental and insurance assistance that's available to them.
Lutheran Services Carolinas is the lead agency with Lutheran Disaster Response. We became involved in the flood in 2015 as a result of our work with LDR. We immediately began working as part of the agencies that were part of the local VOA, voluntary organizations active in disaster.
Many of us were affected by what happened with the flood in 2015 and knew that our agency had a role to play. As many saw it from the beginning, there were many volunteers out there cleaning out homes and things like that, and we knew that we had a role to play with that as well. However, we knew when the cameras were turned off is when we would begin our work. Early on, we reached out to Lutheran Disaster Response. Through LDR funding, we were able to hire 2 case managers, and the purpose of our case managers are to simply help victims with unmet needs. These are our 2 disaster case managers. This is Lavada Smith, and this is Ashley McKee-Thompson.
And basically what we are working on at this time is the disaster case management, and we try to hit the ground running. And what we're doing is making connections with the different resources that are already available in the community. And basically what the case management role will consist of is reaching out to clients and households that still have unmet needs from the October floods, so that we can basically come in, kind of hold their hand and walk them through the process to receive the additional resources that they may not have heard of, or to assist them with the FEMA monies that they may have received during the flood that they still can't find, maybe construction workers or anybody to help them use that money adequately. So we are linking everybody up to the necessary resources that they need in order to move forward at this point.
And we will be covering Richland and Lexington counties.
As a member of Synod Council, it was so energizing to see the response from our Synod, but from around the country, that people were entrusting us with their dollars in the days, even hours after the rains began to fall here in Columbia. And in those following days and weeks, there were so many examples of people responding to where the need was, to providing bottles of water for those who were thirsty, for food to those who were hungry, cleaning homes for those who had seen disaster strike inside their own bedrooms. Where the need is today is somebody going door to door to find those who are somewhere in the cracks, who may not have the ability to navigate the paperwork for federal assistance or through the insurance. But now we've got partners. We have people on the ground every day helping them, doing ministry in a way that is beyond any church wall, but is so vitally necessary. And that is what Synod Council wanted the world to know, is that the South Carolina Lutherans are still here, and we're doing it through these case managers. We're going to do this ministry until it's done. And this $65,000, hopefully, will keep working along that way until we can proudly proclaim that we've recovered from the floods that happened a year ago.
From the very start of the flood, the South Carolina Synod began thinking about ways that we would be able to respond to the disaster. We had congregations who mobilized, like Good Shepherd, where we're filming today, who housed the police officers and firefighters in their fellowship hall, so that they can do some of the important recovery work.
When we awoke on October 4th, 2015, we learned that the rains that we were waiting on and the heavy waters that would follow had a detrimental impact here in the Forest Acres community. I received a call very early in the morning from the police department who had shared that their buildings were flooded out and they immediately a place to confirm a command center. And we were honored that our fellowship space here on the highest hill in Forest Acres could provide that space. Over the course of that day, the National Guard would arrive and use our facilities for their staging and bunking operations. And with the command center fully up and running, they were able to meet the needs of this community. Over the days and weeks to come, we would see that many within our congregation and throughout Forest Acres would suffer substantial damage due to this flood. And it is through the partnership of the men and women who were first responders, the South Carolina Synod, and all those who came together to share their gifts that we saw God at work in a very difficult situation.
We had congregations like Pleasant Springs at Christ Mission and Denny Terrace, which was cut off from major traffic, become repositories for water and food, feeding over 800 families. We had congregations like Incarnation in Columbia who also participated in the flood recovery, and Trinity in Georgetown that became a spot where people came for relief. These 4 congregations are examples of places where Lutherans were doing ministry across our synod, and they not only used some of the money that was donated by people in the South Carolina Synod and people around the state, but they also gave their time and talents and energy and hearts to the effort. Our hope is that as we move forward, even though we've gladly given stewardship of this money over to Lutheran Services of the Carolinas, is that we'll continue to see a compassionate, loving response for those people who continue to be affected by this flood. We are so thankful for the partnership not only of this organization, but people who have joined across the state to lift up those people who are in need and sometimes fall between the gaps.